Food has no boundaries. Everyone treasures their own cuisines, but for newcomers, food takes on other meanings. They diligently preserve their cuisine to give a taste of home to their new American home, instill the love of their home country to their children, and lastly, proudly represent their culture in our America the Beautiful. Spice and Recipe does all the above by introducing recipes from different countries enriched with human stories and comparison of tradition. Hi, I'm Mike DiGiacomo, a born and raised American and a food lover, and I invite you to join me as we discover the origins of flavor, the journey of spices, and the recipes of the world. Hello, Mike DiGiacomo here. We've got another great show for you. We're going to trace the origins of some herbs that come from a combination of at least 5 herbs. It's going to be exciting. We're going to take you to France for a second for a short explanation of some of these herbs, herbs de Provence, and we'll come back right with the expert on that region of France right after this. Herbes de Provence is a combination of dried herbs that originates from the region of Provence of South France. For reference, Marseille is the biggest city of the region. There are at least 5 base herbs blended to create the flavor: oregano, savory, rosemary, thyme, and basil. All herbs grown in the Provence region during the summer and were traditionally mixed to create the flavor. However, the herbes de Provence became a defined type of seasoning and packaged as a mix in the 1970s when Julia Child used the blend to prepare sautéed chicken with Provence herbs, a recipe published in her Mastering the Art of French Cooking book. In North America, you can also find lavender flowers in the mix, an addition that is not used in France and does not appear in the 1,000 recipes collected by Jean-Baptiste Roubola, the iconic chef whose book The Provincial Cook has 24 editions since its publication in 1897. Herbes de Provence are good for grilled meats, fish, vegetables, and stews. The list and proportions of herbs can be adapted to taste, and the blend is added prior, during, and very rarely after the cooking. You can make your own herbe de Provence by combining all herbs at home, or you can buy a ready mix, which is sold between $1.30 and $17.30 per ounce. All right, I'm back in the studio where I'm joined by a great chef here in Omaha from a region of France. He brings that style to the metro area. His name is Cedric Fichepain. Good to see you, Chef. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
Thanks for coming in here today. It's good to see you. I know we've met over the years. We've done some segments in the past. And
correct, yes.
Successful restaurants in Omaha here. Can you tell us, before we dive into some of the recipes here, which these are all fresh ingredients.
Yes.
Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to Omaha and the part of France you're from?
Well, I've been in Omaha almost for more than 20 years now. I met my wife at UNO. A long time ago,
yeah,
and only a woman will bring it to Omaha.
That's
at
it.
this one.
I hear that story a lot. Right?
It does.
You come to Omaha for a little bit, maybe for schooling, and you end up staying for a long time.
That's correct. No, I enjoyed it definitely. Yes.
Yeah. What are we going to prepare today?
Well, we have a typical dish that we do in the southern part of France, which is very fresh and very pleasant to eat any time of the year. It's called the Ratatouille. So pretty much accentuated with all these herbs. That's what's going to bring all those bell pepper, onions, all those vegetables to life.
Yeah, my 18-year-old daughter loves the movie Ratatouille. A little bit different. That was from about 15 years ago, the cartoon.
Yes.
But it really is. It includes all these fresh ingredients, basically summer ingredients from France, right?
Correct, exactly.
Yeah.
That's really something you can find on the market all the time, and pretty much here as well at the Omaha Farmers Market, you can find all these ingredients easily.
Okay, let's start cutting into this. What do we need to do to start preparing? And while we're preparing this, is this recipe something that you've changed over the years, or is this the same recipe you've used for decades?
That's the recipe I've been using. I learned it from my grandmothers. That's how a lot of recipe comes down, from grandchildren as grandmother to grandchildren. And so no, it's her recipe that I kept the same, which is pretty much pretty basic. It's just a mix of onions, green pepper, red bell pepper, zucchini, and eggplant.
Okay.
Obviously, some tomatoes, and we have garlic.
Yeah.
We have bay leaves, the mix of herbe de Provence, salt and pepper.
And when you're talking about the mix right here, this is what we're talking about. And this is the combination of, it's got 5 different ingredients in it. And we'll get to that in a second. We'll break it all out for you. But how do we start? Should we start chopping some of the...
You know, the best thing is to start the onions. Is always, we're going to just try to saute the onions lightly. And we'll start with that. And we'll going to move after to all the different vegetables. So in the meantime, this sauteed, we're going to cut this, make them together, and we can add all the ingredients together.
Great, let's do it. Let's start
All
cutting.
right, sounds good.
Do you have a key for cutting onions? It seems like
Yes.
I'm always tearing up. I'm always crying by the end of
Well,
this
the crying,
episode.
you might not have a choice,
Right.
but on the technique of cutting an onion, definitely. So I always like to keep a little piece of the root there.
Yeah.
It's just because it's easier to hold your onion.
Yeah.
So I'll cut it in half with the root right there.
It's always easier to peel it after you've cut it in half, isn't it? You can
It's
get a little bit-
definitely easier. So it's a little messy, but when I cut this, I usually have a little, place where you can put all your peel and everything.
Yeah.
So,
when you're cutting an onion, how do you do it in volume at a restaurant? I mean,
well, it's really a technique at the end. It's
Yeah.
just that we do a lot of French onion at Le Voltaire,
Right.
so we do a lot of onions, and you just peel and you go for it.
you
So-
go for it. Yeah,
exactly.
you get used to it after a while.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to cut the onion. While we're diving into that, do you have other recipes that you've brought over from France that obviously that are some of your staples?
It's being in Omaha, I try to cover the whole.
Do you want me to cut half of this?
Yeah, that'd be great, please. Actually, we're gonna just cut.
You just need half, or you need the whole thing cut?
No, we're gonna use the whole thing, but
Okay.
we're gonna cut them in long strike like this.
Okay, I apologize for stepping over you there on,
That's all right.
on your other recipes.
That's okay. No, the other recipe, we try to stay classic.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of classic from France, like coq au vin, beef burgundy, the bouillabaisse from Marseille.
Yeah.
Is a very typical one.
You put the olive oil in there first?
So yes, so we got some olive oil. Extra virgin is fine. You don't want to. The extra virgin olive oil has a very low smoking point, so we don't want to cook too high
get
of a
too
heat.
hot, yeah.
Exactly. So olive oil is fine, but regular olive oil works very well.
Okay.
So
And then you just put that in, saute it.
So just a little bit.
Any specific kind of olive oil? I know there's olive oils from different
no
regions of the world.
No. I mean the most famous are the Italian, the Spanish one,
Yeah.
the Greek one. They're all very good. They're all very good. Even they're starting to do American style. Olive oil from
Yeah.
California, and
Okay.
it's very nice. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in
Okay.
our
Get mine over there
pot.
as well.
Perfect.
Add that. Perfect.
We're gonna let it saute.
And how long do you let the onions saute? Just until they're translucent?
Translucent. I mean, this is pretty much a vegetable stew.
Okay.
So it's gonna cook with time.
Yeah.
It's all cooking pretty fast, so it's a matter of 45 minutes you're done.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it. And the more it cooks, and just know that's like every stew, it tastes better the day after.
Exactly.
That is
I
really an
agree.
important
The
thing.
reheat is important. Okay.
Exactly. So we're gonna go ahead and cut our green pepper.
Let me get some of that.
I like to cut them more on a long way
Okay.
than dice them. I mean, you could definitely do a little dice. There's
Yeah.
different way you could do a very small dice of everything, and that will cook a lot
Yeah.
faster. In this case, I like to have some chunks.
Yeah.
I think it definitely looks better.
And it makes it a more hearty soup when those bigger chunks are.
Exactly,
Are in there.
exactly. And the beauty of this is you can really use it to over pasta, rice, or just anything.
Is ratatouille meant more as a side dish?
Yeah,
Or
it's
is
a
it main-
vegetable dish.
Yeah.
It is a vegetable dish. So we're gonna put everything here for the moment.
All right.
Perfect. And we're gonna continue to slice our red bell pepper. You can use a yellow bell pepper. There's absolutely no issue. The beauty of this dish is it's very colorful. It's very nice.
It's appealing to the eyes
Exactly.
as well as the belly.
It's,
I'll tell you that.
exactly. And it's very healthy. I mean, to be honest with you, that's where, you know, vegetable in itself is pretty plain. So that's where the herbs are coming in.
The spices, and we're going to let's get to that right now, actually, as we continue to add these vegetables.
Sure.
The spice, okay, so the herbs, it's got the 7 different herbs in there. Is that pretty much a staple of that area of France?
The herbs themselves, yeah, it's a lot of them are herbs that grow. A lot of them were wild for a long time, and so they started to la garrigue. We call la garrigue is kind of the very dry climate of the south of France, of Provence. So that's why those herbs were still thriving even with the heat.
Yeah, and so we've got them broken out right here. So this dish right here of the herbs is the combination, the mixed blend of these 5 herbs over here. It's thyme, savory, it's rosemary, basil, and oregano. All common, mostly common stuff that we cook with here, just all blended together.
Correct.
To make this dish.
Yep. Yeah. And you can add to it. There's really no limit. I mean, the traditional is five of them, but you know, you can really do anything you want.
The lavender. We mentioned lavender at the top of the show.
Yes.
And that's something is that an Americanized version? They don't use lavender in the French recipe?
We don't really. I mean, I don't remember seeing anything. I don't remember seeing anything like this. You know, we use the lavender in France really mostly for perfume.
Yeah.
It's grown in the south of France a lot. I mean, there's a huge field of it and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely not.
So you don't use the lavender when you cook?
No. Yeah. No, I think it's too flowery.
Yeah.
It's a choice, but I mean, you can have plenty of good flavor only with this already. So.
And then some people in their ratatouille, they use a blend of Italian seasonings as well. Some different Italian seasonings.
Yeah. The Italian seasoning, I mean, it's pretty much the same. You know, Mediterranean food is all across the board.
Mediterranean region,
a lot of the ingredients are the same.
Leave it up to the Italians. Try to sneak their recipes in there. Their spices into every dish.
Yes. No, but it's definitely part of the Mediterranean cooking. That's what it's all about. I mean, the Provence cooking is so different than the northern part of France, for example. We cook a lot with butter in the northern part of France, but in the southern part of France, we cook a lot with olive oil. Yeah. And that has to do with all the Roman Empire a long time ago, because what they were doing, those guys, when they had all the empire around the Mediterranean, they were growing wine and they were growing olive tree.
Yeah.
So that's why you find wine and olives tree everywhere across the Mediterranean.
And then the butter, is that more the Germany side of it, or?
No, it's more because there's a lot more rain in the northern, the half part of France. There's a lot more rain, so you know the pasture is a lot greener, and that's what you do. It's a lot more drier in the south of France. So you will find more cows or anything to do milk to be able to do the butter. Yeah. So that's why you will find more butter in the cooking in the northern part of France is a lot more based on butter.
Makes sense. Yep. I kind of butchered my eggplant here. I apologize. Right. I got distracted by the discussion. All right.
So we got the eggplant.
How long does this dish? How long does it take to cook?
Not long. You see, as I say, it really depends on how long how small you're cutting your vegetables. Yeah. But not too long. So
as usual, it's always the prep that takes longer than the cook.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, in this case, we're going to go ahead and add all our ingredients. I mean, most those guys first. We're going to go ahead and cut the last zucchini.
Okay. You want me to cut the
do
yellow
that.
here?
So on this, I just like to do...
Go down the middle.
In the middle.
One time.
And I always add my garlic at the end.
Okay.
Garlic, because garlic has a tendency to burn very fast.
Yeah, it'll get, if you don't want it to get too brown and crispy.
Yeah,
You just
it's
want it to-
really give a bitter taste, and I don't think it's really good.
Yeah, I've
So your
made that
pot
mistake
looks,
many times.
Yes, so that's what we're going to be doing. But if it gets dry too fast, at this point, that's where we're going to add our tomatoes.
Okay.
So we have our.
What kind of tomatoes do you use?
Well, this one has a kind of aroma tomatoes.
Yeah.
In can works very well because they're already peeled, they're already stewed, so the job is already half done on that. And they bring kind of some liquid as well you're going to need, because right now it's very dry. There's a lot of water in there, so that's why you cook it for 45 minutes an hour to be able to get some liquid going.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. How does that look? Professional?
Looks very good.
Okay. And like you said, you're married, right? Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys.
Okay.
I have 3.
Have you taught them how to cook?
Yes,
are
I
they?
mean, I'm trying to. Each one of them has their own. They're older now. The one
Yeah.
is 24, 22,
Yeah.
and 18.
Well, they're to the age now where they're maybe starting to take some interest in
Yeah,
cooking. 'Cause
exactly.
They got to figure some things out on their own now.
Exactly. Well, my older one, my older boy was born in France.
Okay.
So he really has he's a cook of the family, really. So we are enjoying his cooking very much so.
Have they accepted or taken a major interest in French traditions, French cuisine, or is it more on the side burner for them? I felt like some first generation Americans aren't as interested
That's
in
true.
their culture,
You're
and then
very-
maybe the next generation is more interested.
That's very true. You're absolutely right. And it's sometimes, you can feel like a disappointment almost.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like you want to really to keep the tradition. So we are my wife is American, I'm French, so we try to raise the boys on a kind of both tradition
A
of the
balance
country.
act, yeah,
A
it's a
balance,
balancing act.
And it's very interesting because even if both country comes, the U.S. and France become very the same European Western culture, you still have a lot of differences between them. So it's pretty interesting how it works.
It is. I've noticed that. So my grandparents came over from Italy. You know, they were first generation. Well, they were the immigrants that came over. My dad is first generation, was born here. I feel like I have more of an interest in the Italian culture than he does. He grew up speaking Italian, and I think he had more of an interest in assimilating, in America.
Yes.
Than hearkening back to his ancestors and grandma and great grandparents.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them. I mean, I left my country is not because I didn't like my country or I would not have any hardship like a lot of people at the beginning of the 20th century, but I left because I fell in love with an American woman. So it's.
But you came to school
I don't
here,
have,
right? You came here for school?
I came to school at the beginning. I was here for school.
Yeah, for educational purposes. Yeah.
So exactly. So that's why for me it was definitely my French, uprising. My French culture is still with me, and I'm totally on it
Yeah,
still.
for sure.
I listen to my French news and things like this, and
Yeah.
and so it's interesting. How it
Yeah,
works.
for sure. That's bay leaves going in, right?
Bay leaves, yes. We're
Okay.
just going to add
Just
bay
you
leaves.
put 2 or 3 in.
2 or 3 is
Whatever you like for
perfect.
flavor.
Yep. Just remember to take them out.
Yeah.
Bay leaves are you cannot digest it very
don't eat
well,
them,
so
yeah.
you got to be careful. I added some garlic to it. Now we're going to add some salt.
And you just salt to the taste. There's no real
Well,
answer, or how much do you put in?
yeah, I mean it's always good. It's very bland, so
Yeah.
you're really going to have to kick it.
Yeah.
So that's why you put a good hand in it. That's not a problem, and you can always
Yeah.
look at it after.
This
so.
is a really healthy dish.
It is.
I mean,
It is.
There's nothing bad in here.
No,
right?
there's
Maybe
absolutely
you
nothing bad. As I
Don't
say,
go overboard on the salt, and you're good.
exactly. It's but the salt, it doesn't matter. So
Sure.
we're going to be using our herbe de Provence.
And this is the main ingredient. This is really what gives it that kick. the
Exactly,
flavor.
exactly, and that's what's going to bring the smell in your kitchen all the time. And you got all these beautiful old herbs. So
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead and add this, and we can always add some more later on.
Sure.
But really, that's
So
what
do
the flavor.
you sneak a few tastes as it's simmering there on the stove
Yes.
to figure out how much more to put in, whether it needs more salt.
Exactly.
Or
So it's
more of
really at
herbs.
the end, and so we don't want to put it too high. We want to put it at a medium low.
Yeah.
And do a little stir again.
Okay.
The volume is pretty important right now, as you
Yeah.
can see. But as the water evaporates from the vegetables, it's going to reduce, and that's when it's going to start to.
It'll turn more of it into a soup or a stew.
Exactly, a stew,
Yeah.
and exactly that, exactly.
As that cooks down, so how long are you thinking? 10, 15 minutes? 20
Well,
minutes?
a little bit more. I mean,
Hour and a
it
half
really
hour?
depends. We can cover it. If you cover it, it's obviously going to go faster because the steam who's done on the inside will accelerate the cooking of the vegetables.
When you use a Dutch oven like that, so a cast iron, does it trap the heat? Do you get a better overall?
I really
Cooking
like
throughout?
Dutch oven are really fantastic for any stew, vegetable stew
Yeah.
or just meat stew,
Yeah.
definitely.
As we let that cook down, what do you miss about France, being over there full time? What do you miss about your country?
You know, I just like beside the COVID, let's put the
know.
COVID
Tough time.
aside.
Yeah, tough.
I just I have all my family over there.
Yeah.
So it's always a pleasure to see my family, but as well, just try new dishes, a new restaurant, and I like to travel France. Usually every 2 years, I take some of my staff
Yeah.
from Le Voltaire to France, and it's been fun to just showcase my country
Yeah.
to them.
You mentioned new dishes. When you're cooking these new dishes, do you try them at home first with the family before you bring them to any restaurant? Or do you experiment at home?
I did definitely. My wife was complaining sometime that I was not. I was creating some crazy stuff, but at the end,
All wives claim that. To be honest, let's be honest here.
Yes. But she's happy that I'm
Exactly,
cooking
yeah.
at home. No. We tried everything at the restaurant, and
Yeah.
it's definitely one of the fun part of owning a restaurant is you can try anything.
Yeah, and I've got this here. You're a chef. You've got restaurants, a bakery. You write, not cookbooks, but it's something else.
Oh,
You
yes.
wrote. You were the author of a play.
Yeah, I co-wrote a play with a friend of mine called Barbie Davis, and we actually produced it at the restaurant. And we had a cast of 8 people, and it's the tribulation of a waiter.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I know in the restaurant industry, and specifically, whether it's in the kitchen or out on the floor as a server, there's a lot of interesting stories.
Oh yes.
Okay,
yes.
so we have the dish through the magic of television right here. We can't wait for that to cook down entirely, but we have the prepared ratatouille right here. Let's take a look at that. It's gorgeous. And you can see that the water has evaporated, so it does turn it into more of a stew.
Exactly. So you can see all the vegetables are tender.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to be careful is you don't want to overcook it either
Yeah.
because it starts to get too mushy.
Mushy, yeah.
So in this case, it's fine. It's working perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So it is a very, how do I say, you serve this over pasta, you can go wrong. It's definitely an amazing dish. And you can always add a little bit more salt, pepper, anytime.
Chef, it is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Listen, if you're out there watching and you want a copy of this recipe, just go to our website. It's newamericansmedia.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for social media pages, YouTube, Facebook, and all that type of stuff. Chef, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.
This was fantastic.
Thank
It takes
you.
a lot of time and work to come to prepare this, and we appreciate you coming in here today. Appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
And thank you out there for watching. Again, I'm Mike DiGiacomo. Thanks for watching the show. And we'll catch you next time right here. I'm Mike DiGiacomo. Have a great day. OMA.